Congratulations! You will meet the Grandmaster in 5 seconds. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. You are now meeting the Grandmaster.
Move to this one. So this is a conversation that is going to be a wider conversation. Again, this is the one I talked about at the very beginning of this stream. This is going to be a wider conversation that I do want to have. And Q is going to be there too. I want Q to be there too. But a conversation with Dre and Chill and Marcus, back at the guys over back at the bus. Everybody like to have this conversation because, you know, again, don't get me wrong. In my opinion, I just saw Raymond's comment where he said, you know, some of the best shows on Disney Plus when it comes to Marvel. In my opinion, this is the best Disney Plus show that Marvel has given us. And I am a major fan of WandaVision and a major fan of Loki. But this, in the 5 episodes that we've gotten thus far, tops anything that WandaVision did in 9 episodes and tops anything that Loki did in 9 episodes. And again, that is just my opinion. I am a major X-Men fan as well. I love the X-Men. I've been waiting for some introduction of the X-Men into the MCU or into the Marvel, you know, new Marvel powers that be in everybody's got control. But my thing with the X-Men'97 series at the very beginning was I didn't want it because, you know, as a 90s kid growing up on the 90s series, I didn't want to reboot, especially under the current regime that is Marvel. I did not want them to come in and mess up, especially when they said it's going to pick up where it left off. I was like, oh God, they're going to ruin our childhood with this and they're going to fuck this shit up. But no. You know, it came out very early. These are things we know already. I'm just kind of rehashing. It came out very early that Beau DeMayo was going to be writing on it, and that he wanted a writer's room that knew the material, that knew the X-Men, that was a fan of the original show. And if you weren't, you could not be in the writer's room. Again, I've talked about this. It's very different from comments that producer Nate Moore made when he said, if you know comics, that's a red flag for us. And we don't want people like that in the writer's room. And that when you look at comments like that made and you look at some of the projects gotten in phases 4, you can see why they failed, because you had red flags with not wanting people to come in that knew comics, that know the material. It never made sense. You know, this is when Beau did that same interview talking about his experience with The Witcher in the writer's room, not Marvel, but kind of the same exact thing. When you don't have people that know this material, when you don't have people surrounding a project that actually cares about it, that loves these characters, that want to see, you know, the stories that us fans want to see told, well, you're going to get duds like Madam fucking Web, you know, where the whole movie's a goddamn premonition. So those are the issues here. But when I'm looking at X-Men'97 and I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm loving X-Men'97 right now. Beau DeMayo tweeted after episode 5 that was just the beginning. This next episode we know is not going to be as heavy as episode 5 was, but it's still going to, it's not a cleansing palette either, is the terminology they used, that Marvel used. So we know that it's still going to have us in our feels. But in that, in loving 97, it's like I said on Sunday, there is a lack of color in 97. There is a lack of representation in 97. And I fear if we cannot even be represented in animation, how do we expect to be represented in live action? It is 2024. I should not have to advocate that there should be characters like Blue Marvel in live action or animated or whatever for representation. I shouldn't have to advocate for characters like Misty Knight. I shouldn't have to advocate for characters like Maggot. I shouldn't have to advocate for characters like Blade or like Luke Cage or like Char or like any of the other black Marvel characters that are just sitting up on a shelf collecting dust that we're not using. I shouldn't have to advocate for those characters in 2024. Why? Because my stories, just as well as every other stories, deserve to be told. And I'm not just stopping at black stories. I'm specifically talking black stories because that is my skin color. But it doesn't just stop at black stories. The X-Men are the most diverse group in Marvel Comics. Point blank, period. That may not be what Stan Lee set out to do. There are conflicting stories on that, so pause on the comments. Don't come at me saying, oh, no, that's exactly what Stan Lee intended to do. Go watch and listen to different interviews with Stan Lee. You can hear in some interviews, maybe it was the age with Stan Lee as he was getting older. I don't know. In some interviews, he said that was what he intended to do. In other interviews, he said that's not what he intended to do. Your mileage may vary. So you got to go watch those and check those on for yourself. But that's never what he says he intended to do. Even though that's not what they intended to do, that's what the X-Men are. That's what they turned out to be. You can look at the X-Men and see many different groups, see many different stories, many different whatever in the X-Men. And again, that's kind of what they've just turned into being, the whole people making the comparisons between Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King, between Magneto and Professor X. You see those things. You can see the parallels. But again, within those parallels, even in Marvel Comics, the Black mutants are not represented. And some of you might be saying, oh my God, here we go with another representation conversation, and we're only 5 episodes in. When does it stop? Are you guys not happy? No, we're not happy. And the reason I'm not happy is because I don't have to just be 5 episodes in to see what the future holds for 97. When it comes to these shows and things, merchandise comes out. So we already know who's going to be in the show. And the only 2 people of color in the show are Storm and Bishop. The action figures are out. There's no more action figures coming out. So we know that. Take yourself back to, what was it, D23 or whenever the fuck they showed the original who was going to be the animation style, and Storm and Bishop. That's it. You look at Marvel Comics in general, X-Men Marvel Comics, it's Storm and Bishop. They are the 2 token. And then you look at Sunspot, and I'm going to get to the article in just a second. You look at the Sunspot stuff. Sunspot is an Afro Afro-Latino individual on the team. And there were people that are upset with Sunspot's portrayal in 97. And I'm going to show a picture here in just a second, but there's some people upset with Sunspot's portrayal, his skin color in 97, because it's once again not Marvel taking the steps forward to making him exactly how he should look. And again, I know some of you watching this might be thinking to yourselves, why is this a big deal? And for you, it's not. Because when you look at Jean, you're represented. When you look at Scott, you're represented. When you look at Beast, even though he's blue, that's a white man under that, you're represented. It doesn't matter. You are represented in every corner of every show that you watch. So yes, it was a big deal when Sunspot wasn't the accurate color that he should be. He wasn't as dark as he should be. Take yourself back to the video I showed of the voice actress that plays Storm a couple weeks ago. The one thing that she could not wait to talk about in that interview with comicbook.com was, hey, notice the picture of her in the 90s. Notice the picture of her now. It's the skin color. It's the representation that matters. It's because she finally actually looks like me. It's not.
I'll tell you what I do love, and I don't think I've said this to anybody before, but Steve, if you notice, her skin tone in 97 is a couple of shades darker than she was in the 90s. And I'm
Wow.
going, beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. We have
Yes.
all our own issues within our own community, and some of it is imposed, and some of it is stuff that we do, but there is, an ism that we battle with, and that's colorism, right?
Right.
And the gradations, the closer that you get to white is seen as more beautiful. And I just love because it's only when you don't pick up on it until you see them side by side, and you go, "Ooh, girlfriend got a tan," and she's been in the sun, and I love it. I thrill to that. So
No,
so hair, that's great, all of that stuff, but just check how beautiful my girl's complexion is.
yes,
Like
I
me.
love
It's not anytime, you get a black character in animation, you look back on those days or whatever, they were never truly the color that they should have been. It was always, we can't make them too dark, because if they're too dark, that does not sell. Black doesn't sell like that. So you don't do it. So since they decided not to do that, and you get what you got with the X-Men, I find myself watching the massacre of Genosha in episode 5. And knowing in the comics about the massacre, there were 17.5, something million mutants killed, massacred in the comics. Now, we don't know the numbers in X-Men 97 because Scott kept asking, how many? No one ever answered that question. So we don't know what it was in X-Men 97. And when you watch X-Men 97, it looks like the city, or the island of Genosha, has many different cities within that. And it looks like only one of those cities was on fire. So we don't know how many mutants were really affected in 97. But when I'm watching that, I'm just looking around again. And I'm like, where's the color? Let me give this picture here really quick. I think I still am logged in on here. I'll show this picture really quickly. Cody Conyers is a digital creator, digital artist. And he draws a lot of black characters, just characters in general, Marvel characters, DC characters, whatever. He recently did this picture. Not recently. He did this picture, this was in February, so kind of recent. Black History Month. This is a list, and this is just some, by the way. This is just some of Marvel's black X-Men, mutants. Mutants that most of you watching, some of you, I don't know how heavy comic book fans you are, how heavy X-Men fans you are, don't even know who the fuck they are. Of course, everybody knows Storm, everybody knows Bishop. Most people know Sunspot, I'd say. But you've got Gentle in here, you've got Darwin in here, you've got Monet in here, you've got Bling in here, you've got Frenzy in here, you've got Prodigy, you've got Sync, you've got Oya in here, you've got Triad in here. Like, you've got all these black Marvel X-Men mutants that are not getting used. And this is just some of them. Currently, right now, we are using Bishop. Bishop is the center of what's going on. Bishop's going to be the center of what's going on and who's coming. We're going to learn now all that shit from Bishop. Most people don't even know Bishop's sister's a sister. She's black. But you wouldn't know that because Bishop's sister is sitting in the future on the shelf where she can't be seen. I don't know what. Well, let me. Because I'm almost done with my spill here. I don't want to sit here and say I don't know what it is, because that'd be ignorant of me to say. I know exactly what it is. We've talked about exactly what it is before. It's the exact same reasons T'Challa's not being used. Because strong black characters in power, regardless of it being fiction, whatever, black characters in general, black figures empower and give hope. And that's not something that they want to advertise. People look at you crazy when you say, I want an all-black X-Men team. That's why would you want an all-black? Because you get an all-white X-Men team. You get an all-white one, so why can't we have an all-black X-Men team? And that wouldn't make sense to have an all-black X-Men team. There are so 17 million mutants killed. Not one splash of color? Not nothing? So every time there's a team, only one nigga gets to be on the team? Storm right now in 97 ain't got her powers.
The last pick, too.
Bishop's in the future.
That's it.
That's it.
I mean, you could argue fucking Nightcrawler's a nigga.
I mean that's it. So it's like, I found myself really not wanting to have the conversation because I was like, oh, but it's so good. X-Men'97 is so good right now. But then I thought to myself, I'm not going to keep you comfortable because you don't want to have the uncomfortable conversations. So I'm going to have the uncomfortable conversations. I'm going to always and constantly bring up representation when we are not being represented, and we are currently not being represented. As dope as the show is, bro, and I am going to be up watching episode 6. As dope as it is, there is still no representation in the most diverse fucking group in Marvel. You took away T'Challa, and now yet again we are still not being represented in the most diverse team in Marvel. And the last and final thing, Beau DeMayo. I thought to myself after I watched the episode with Mojo, Jubilee, and Sunspot, where they had that whole different world part in there, where it was the different world, the cast of the X-Men redoing the different world poses from the theme song. I was like, bro, you can tell that there was care put in this. You can tell that I said this. You can tell that a black man worked on this. Pause, though. Why? Because that was like a snippet of something. Like, we're still not getting that. And yeah, there's more episodes to come. But again, I know who's in the show. We're not going to get Sync doing anything. We're not going to get Prodigy. All these mutants up here, dope ass powers. Triad has the ability to possibly bring people back from the dead. He can heal your wounds in a battle, raise the dead. You've got Prodigy who can, whenever Sync rather, whenever whoever's close to Sync, if you're within proximity of Sync, he can absorb and not absorb, take it from you, but manipulate, sync himself up with and use and do the exact same thing that your powers can do. You've got Prodigy who's smart as fuck. And it's just like we're not using these characters. You got Gentle, who's a Wakandan. You want to explore Wakanda. Where was that exploration? We weren't exploring Wakanda. Again, I don't want to get on that, but we watched Wakanda get their asses beat. Where the fuck was Gentle? It's just like all of these. There's too many black heroes sitting on shelves not getting used. And I was expecting for Beau DeMayo to be one, a black man, 2, a gay black man, and then 3, a black man, to understand the facts that representation, and I get he gets it. I do like Beau. Representation matters, but brother, I hope that you're not being used as just another Nate Moore token. As just another, like, okay, let's just throw this black brother in here just for the hell of it, and then, we can bend him and make him, maybe he was fired because he refused to bend. I don't know. But I'm just saying, when we were looking for X-Men writers to join our room, it would have been nice if we said half the room needs to be a certain color, though, too. And I'm not just black. Again, there are Native American mutants. There were 17 million mutants killed in the mutant massacre. They couldn't all been white. Chinese, Indian, Mexican, so many. They're mutants, bro. Representation just matters on all aspects. I'm done. And before I read the article, I'll let you go. But it just matters on all aspects. All aspects.
No, yeah. And just firstly touching on the amount of mutants, 17, however many. There's a point in the comics where the essential point, humans fear not even a point in the comics. The whole point of the X-Men, humans fear mutants because they're evolving. They're going to take over. They fear they're going to take over humanity. So simply, only personifying or showing us the white mutants are mainly is just, it's wrong because it's not diverse at all. It's not accurate. It's not, like you said, there's every single race, like humanity fears that they're going to take over humanity, be the new main population.
Right.
And mutants run the world. And so just touching on that, I don't see how we're only getting mainly one color, or the colored characters in terms of the blue ones or the red ones.
Right,
or
right.
Shit like that. And so that's the first thing I'll say. But touching on the race thing, the way I always talk is I crack jokes and shit, but there's always a little bit of realness in them. And so it's just, you got to look at, honestly, the world. You can't just even look at X-Men'97 and have this conversation, because if anyone wants to say racism isn't alive or racism a thing, I want everyone to realize everyone in the world almost watched the women's basketball tournament this year. And I feel like one of the main plights of that
Good
tournament
example.
is race. And
Very good example.
you watch LSU play Iowa. You watch Iowa play SCU. And as much as, to me, it's basketball. Yeah, one team's white, one team's black, but you get on the internet and that's all it's about.
Yep.
These thugs this. The hood wanted this. I hope these white girls don't deserve this. White girl this. Black girl this. These N-words this. She can't read, so she's good. You
Right.
get on the internet and you realize, I'm not even talking X-Men'97 right now because this is going to prove my point, but racism is alive more than ever. No, we're not getting beat every day. No, we're not slaves. No, we're not physically being abused or anything, but the mental exhaustion or the way of life and the things we have to change in order to seem that we live the same life as a white person, it's crazy. And I'm just saying that because who knows, I don't know because I wasn't in the room, but Beau DeMayo could have wanted all of this. He could have wanted, but the higher ups, they're white. That's the way the world is almost everywhere. The higher ups are white. It's in the NBA. Kyrie didn't want to get vaxxed, said something about reading a book about Jews, and the NBA made him apologize, pay millions, go to counseling.
Right.
I'm in OKC. I love Josh Giddey, but they dismissed that little pedophile.
They didn't even mention it.
Like it was nothing.
Right.
And I don't know. Right now my point is to just bring up points that are happening this year that are kind of like, I want to prove that racism is here. Like it may not be racism and hating this, but the discrimination of like how colors are treated. It's
real.
It's super obvious now, and more obvious with the internet. People hiding behind fake accounts what they can say. They can say anything they want. So that's just me saying all that in terms of me personally. I watch a lot of comic book stuff. Has always been not an escape, but it's always been somewhere I can go where I know it's kind of like I don't have to worry about any of that. And if I do, it's fiction. It's part of the storytelling. It's part of the element to make you feel something, which anytime race is brought up in comic books like this, it is supposed to be real, especially talking about the X-Men, because the X-Men are nothing but political. Like, I was reading some comments earlier, and the thing about when we had our woke conversation, it's like the X-Men, they're like, the comics are woke, but the way people are talking, like their show is woke in today's world and shit like that, they're just not using the word right. But if you know the X-Men, they're woke to real life situations and everything, which might be even more disappointing seeing that we're only getting 98% white. So, I don't know, I'm just going back to my main point. I read comic books and watch all this shit to kind of escape that and get a little bit of representation and feel included and all that. But I mean, I've told you from day one, he has a biracial, black, white, black and German. I ain't no one on screen look like me, unless they are Afro-Latino. That's the mix I get. That's the light-skinned, curly hair mix I get. And so, I don't know. It's just kind of disappointing to see that some people don't really understand where we're coming from or can't empathize the story we're trying to tell in terms of, yes, I can very well find representation in Superman, Doctor Strange, my favorite hero, but not even just me, but the amount of people, black people, Mexican, Latino, Asian, whatever you want to say, that don't get the representation. And it's like, I want y'all to know it's on purpose. That's the point I'm trying to get to. As much as I hate to say it, the white people want you to see the white person as the leader, the stronger, the higher up. Like, there's no way in hell, at least I think in my lifetime, I'm going to watch any stories or universes told where it's just black. The leader's black, 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 this. Or not even just black, just diverse. You know, we'll get our Wakanda Forever this, or where it's that, or we'll get our Shang-Chi where it's this, but why can't we get Doctor Strange and everybody, or we're in New York City, the melting pot of America, and 100% of the people walking down the street are white. Like, it's simple shit like that. And I
Right.
mean, I'm not even really making like a one certain point here. I'm kind of just rambling on because the point that I wanted to make was the fact that some people don't see that racism is actually real. Like, the racism and discrimination is real. And so when we bring it to terms of fiction and comic book stuff, I don't see how people can be like, oh, it's not real. Like, if it's in real life, those same real humans who live the real day-to-day life are taking those same feelings and putting them into the stories they tell to be sold, because the one thing they do care about is money. Like you said, black doesn't sell to them. What sells to them, or what black does sell to them, are the sympathetic stories, the sad story, the slave stories, the
stories we always talk about.
It's so hard to see this. Let's go make them watch this. And so it's like, I don't know. I want you to get into the article because I know there's probably some more we got to say and everything. But
I just want to add
I think it's just tough that the fact that we just looking at this picture alone, this isn't even all the mutants. And we have Blue Mar, we have Voodoo behind me. We have so many black characters that aren't main characters that could literally be Sam Wilson's, but they want to give us one Sam Wilson. We get Sam Wilson, Don Cheadle, two back. That's enough.
But see, I guess, earlier when I don't remember who said it, when said, I don't mind Sam Wilson, but that's also my issue. Why does Sam have to be powerless? Why does Sam have to be the one that does not have powers in a group of powerful beings? Don
Cheadle power.
Yeah, Don Cheadle is powerless. You killed the only black hero in your cinematic universe that had powers. Like, that is one of my issues with Sam. It's like, when the terminology around Brave New World is it's a struggle story, I am sick of watching nigga struggle stories. I said this before when we were talking about, the Black Panther stuff. If I wanted to watch Black Death at the time when Wakanda Forever came out, I could have went and watched the Emmett Till movie. I could have went and watched them, torture and kill that little boy. If I wanted to watch a black struggle story, I could have watched Emancipation with Will Smith. I chose not to. If I want to watch a black struggle story, I can watch 12 Years a Slave or any of those others. Right, like nobody. But when I go to watch a Marvel film, I don't want to watch a black struggle story.
It's an escape, like I said.
Exactly.
It's something I go to for representation that I know I don't get in the real world.
Exactly.
Before we continue, B. Smith said, "Get him, Darius. Have the crucial conversation." Shout out for the super chat.
Thank you for that.
Appreciate you always. But yeah, no, it's like I said, you wanna
appreciate it.
A lot of, I don't know.
But I want to say what you said too on it doesn't have to do with the comic books. It doesn't have to do with Marvel or any of that stuff. But racism, regardless of if it's fictional, we see racism in real life just like we do in fiction. Because if you take yourself back to the Obi-Wan Kenobi days, the Star Wars fans flipped fucking shit over Moses Ingram. They were DMing her, calling her nigga this, nigga that. Niggers aren't in Star Wars. You're not gonna. They don't even want us to exist in fictional spaces, let alone real spaces.
I'll tell you where I see it the worst. Black cosplayers.
Oh, yeah.
That is bad. I don't even find that shit funny anymore. If you go on a black cosplayer's social media and it's nigga and then the name of the character, nigga this, nigga that, or I don't know. And it's like, yeah, as much as I find Instagram comments funny as fuck, I find social media comments probably some of the only reason I get on social media sometimes is for the comments. But I myself, just because I had to learn, making jokes at people's expense is not the way to go. I've definitely done that before. I did it for a while. It's one of the main things I've changed about the way I make jokes and shit, because it's just making someone feel a type of way about something they're happy about, no use in that. And so, to do that to someone for their race, too, like, one, they're trying to be happy doing a hobby, but two, you're making fun of them because they're not even doing a bad job at the hobby, they're just black.
Right.
They're literally just colored. And so, they could, man, I'm sure you know, because you put cosplay, so I'm sure you know how it goes and shit. Even
cosplaying can be difficult.
I was about to say, even simply Halloween. You know how many times I had
It's
to
so
look and
hard
just,
for me
man,
to
I
find
gotta
who
go
I'm
as an
gonna be.
athlete.
Yeah,
I gotta, man.
it is so hard for me to find who I'm gonna be. And when I want to be a black character, it's a complex costume.
You gotta make it.
Yeah,
You
it's a
gotta make
complex costume. Like yeah. So it's But the last thing to add, what you were saying, even though again, like it doesn't have anything to do with Marvel or anything like that, but the March Madness championship, nobody expected. I forget coach's name for SC. What's her name? Dawn.
Dawn Staley?
Yes. Nobody expected, nobody was expecting Dawn to win because the focus was on Caitlyn. Caitlyn was the focus. Caitlyn was the focus of even last year when LSU beat them and upset them and everything. Caitlyn was still the focus because it was Caitlyn's return, Caitlyn's comeback. Even this whole, March Madness, or not all of March Madness, but just the whole season, it's Caitlyn. I expected her to win. I did. I thought she was going to, because now I'm going to rehash March Madness, but I expected her to win. But when you look at the articles after the win was, yeah, they got upset and congratulations to SC, but it was Caitlyn's picture. The highlight was still Caitlyn. And that was the thing. You weren't highlighting this group of talented, strong, black individual young women that were led by a strong black coach. They weren't on the headline. It wasn't congratulations to you, da-da-da-da-da-da. It was congratulations, but with a picture of Caitlyn. So it's like, and again, as the editor of these newspapers and things like that, you know what the fuck you're doing when you do stuff like that. You know exactly what the fuck you're doing. So it's like, yeah, these are the real conversations. These are representation is always going to matter regardless of any form of media that it's in. Representation matters, and I do believe that we should see an all-black X-Men team.
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Just read his comment.
Yeah, the whole Jonathan Majors thing. I talked about this. Was it the last time? Oh, actually, we were just talking about it. The whole, Jabari deal. Like, that's a weaponizing her whiteness. She knew what she was doing when she called 911 and made the false accusations that she made. She said to herself then, if I personally can't get him, then I can get him in other ways. I can weaponize my whiteness. We've seen whiteness weaponized throughout the years. I just used Emmett Till as an example. Weaponized whiteness that got an innocent little boy murdered. Weaponized whiteness that just got this man, and this is not the only time we've seen it, that just got this man taken off of everything he was doing. His, not to say that his career is not going to come back, because again, if you're paying attention to Dre Mac and everything he's doing over on his channel, he's covering everything with Jonathan Major. He just personally met Jonathan Major. So, like, the man's making a comeback in his career and things like that, but it's like, she knew what she was doing.
Have to make a comeback.
Exactly.
Especially whenever you're at the peak of your career, you shouldn't have to.
Right.
You shouldn't. Story of so many black, or what's the word I'm looking for? So many talented black people get shut down at the top of their peak. They're at their peak, and then boom, here come the accusations. Here come this. Here come that. Whether it's for money, destroy their life,
right.
This, that, and I don't know. It just sucks that it's just so fucking common. It's not a 1-2 time. Like this Jonathan Majors thing is an everyday thing in the life of black-white relationships. Black. Just in terms of just, it's an everything thing.
Yeah. Walking while black, driving while black, shopping while black. It is a thing. But the whole controversy over Sunspot. For those of you that don't know, this was the thing that happened, and this is an article from 2023. This is last summer that this whole thing came out. I remember all of this, and this was some of the things that people were putting on Beau when they were before episode 5 came out. When people were saying, "Oh, I'm glad he's gone," before they changed their tune. It said, despite doing a commendable job of keeping fans updated about X-Men'97 status on social media, Tunda, whoever this website is, reveals that the head writer Beau DeMayo has decided to leave the platform following a tense few days. Earlier this week, we learned that Brazilian actor not going to butcher his name, will lend his voice as Roberto da Costa, Sunspot, in the X-Men animated series follow-up. However, the character has long been the subject of whitewashing claims. First the New Mutants live-action movie, and now X-Men '97. Wasn't Sunspot also in Days of Future Past, where he wasn't represented well there either? I believe so, yeah. Sunspot, who is typically darker skinned on the page, being portrayed by, again, I don't want to butcher his name, didn't sit well with some, while others feel his skin tone in the show itself is too light for the Afro-Brazilian. Initially, DeMayo responded by saying, "I will not indulge fans believing that they are entitled to be the arbiters of someone else's identity, and whether or not they are this or that enough. At a proper time, there will be plenty of insight into the decisions we made and why. When Marvel gives me the go, I will be very frank and transparent." That did little to calm things down, hence why the writer eventually decided to take a break from social media. He said, "I value fans' opinions, but the sheer amount of vitriol in the last 24 hours is truly taxing and actually risk working against what you're trying to do, as it's now closed off and access points because I have to protect myself." He stated before detailing some of the attacks he's endured in the recent few days, including being labeled a race traitor. You can read both the statements. This is what he said. "Well, guys, sad to say, the page will be going dark for a bit. Could be a week, could be a year. I haven't slept. Advocation matters. I value fans' opinions, but the sheer amount of vitriol in this last 24 hours is truly taxing and actually risk working against what you're trying to do. It's not a valid criticism. It's an ununiformed one, and I will defend my decision and my crew, which includes several people of color." So that answers the question, I guess, what we said earlier, how many people of color were in the writer's room. So he says, which includes several people of color who have experienced the same hate and hardships that the X-Men do. They are not toys for you to debate, and I will not indulge fans believing that they are. And that is the end of the article there. So, but I do want to point that part there where he said, which includes several people of color who have experienced the same hate and hardships as the X-Men do. So of all those several people of color, nobody in the room said,
"Hey, maybe add
maybe just one
sprinkle of color,
just a little, you know.
Show my niece some pepper."
Man, I just something, I don't know. So that just, again, all those people. So again, when you say there are people of color in the room, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear it this way, but this is the only way I really know how to say it, because I agree. Just because I don't have to explain it. There are different blacks. There are different. When I say that, I'm not saying shades. There's like, I've been in situations where I thought a black person that I didn't know personally was going to be on my side of the situation, where they were tap dancing on the other side of the situation. So there are different types of people of color. So were the people of color you had in the room with you, were they about it, or were they on the other side of the fence tap dancing? So when you say you have people of color in there that have experienced the same hardships, there's levels to that shit. Yeah, I hate to even say it, but there's levels to that shit.
And I mean, speaking on hardships, I would never speak on anyone else's hardships. That's only something you can do for yourself.
Right.
Like, I'd never be like, me and Darius have experienced the same hardships.
Right.
Like, no. Like, and so, I don't know. I don't feel like that's valid, him trying to validate other people's hardships by just putting them all into one, like you said, putting it all into one category, and that category being black. Like you said, there's more than being black itself. Yeah,
that's true.
But there are many other things that come with that. Not every single black person gets the same. Like,
right. It's not the same. For example, just a really quick one. I coach AAU basketball. my boys, I've talked about this game before. When we played a team from Arkansas, every time we played a team from Arkansas, that always happened. But we were in Dallas. We played a team from Arkansas. My boys were getting called nigga this, nigga that, not just by the boys on the floor, but the parents were participating. So of course, when I get kicked out of the game for acting like what you called me, in my boys, now I'm the wrong one. I'm the bully. I'm the one the police need to come and get.
Yeah, no. Then you'll get the black player.
Exactly.
The black tap dancing monkey
Yes.
that even
Well, he tap danced his Uncle Ruckus way on over there too, bro. He came over there and he said he tried to give me this whole speech, and I'm like, bro, they are out there calling my boys the niggas, and he's like, and I'm going. So I said, okay, so you're one of them. So it's just like. There are different levels to that shit. So again, the POC that you had in the room with you, how were they? Were they Nate Moore's, Ryan Coogler's? So I don't know. That's just my whole. Yeah, he tap danced his ass right the fuck over there too. I promise you, he did, bro. Made me so mad. I'm thinking to myself, damn, here comes another nigga. He come over there on the same bullshit. You know what? I said when I started working at Express, I find it quite perplexing and concerning in the workplace when I look around and don't see people of the same complexion, at least one or two, somebody that I can go have a conversation with. So yeah, like no. But that's just thoughts on 97. Again, I love 97. That does not take away my love for 97. In my opinion, this show is still the absolute best show on Disney Plus that they have done with Marvel so far. I'm just, again, going to voice my concerns as a person of color when I'm watching things that I love. And I know that there are also fictional people of color in that universe that just aren't being used. So it's again going to be an ongoing conversation, and for my new subscribers, people that we just subscribed, thank you for all the new subscribers we've gotten, because I think we gained like almost 50.
I was gonna say, yeah, we're only 120 away from 2,000.
Yeah,
so
almost minimum. 50 something, and just from the last live stream we did of X-Men'97. So appreciate all that, and for the new subscribers that are here, if this type of conversation scared you away, well, it'd be best to exit now because these happen quite often. So, but yeah, no, that's all I had to say on that. And I am going to, again, have this conversation wider with Chill and Dre and Back of the Bus, and we're going to all share our thoughts. But for sure.